Speaking of Red Pill, what's what are some of the characteristics that you look for when looking for a settling down with a girlfriend, wife, whatever, a partner?
Yeah. Does she bring me peace? A high level of loyalty. Loyalty is going to be the most important thing. If she, especially front facing in the business, it has to be because the thing is like, and women have a hard time dealing with this, but if a man is working and a woman is working, he can't embarrass her to anywhere near to the extent that she can embarrass him. Just imagine if some red pill, like massive manosphere content creator, forget that, let's say like a blue pill alpha, like fucking Chris Williamson. Let's just say Chris Williamson gets cheated on by his girlfriend. That would hurt his business, bro. He's trying to be like this sort of like dating expert. Could you imagine how bad that would be for him? It doesn't help Destiny that he's trying to give advice on, this kind of dynamic and that he's divorcing his wife. It's so bad, so bad. These guys will lose their relationship and be professionally embarrassed. Women don't have the same. I'm sorry, dude. If Sheryl Sandberg got cheated on by her husband, she's still like a pretty, she's a sharp CLO, even though I don't agree with a lot of her viewpoints. She's really sharp at her job. Like she's not going to lose her job because of it, but it's very different. So it's one of the things you have to understand is like when your girlfriend, she has to understand, are you front facing, meaning like, are you part of the business do we see you publicly? And if we do, if you have the potential to embarrass the dude, then that's got to be one of the main things. Also, high level of loyalty, just understanding when we're doing things to promote, like to help the relationship, that those things have into account rather than just being selfish. The ability to listen is really important. And then the other thing is that I look for in someone is when things go wrong and I need help, are you going to panic or can you handle stuff? And that's hard because a lot of girls can't. A lot of really pretty girls, when anything goes wrong, it's like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Help me. And like, it's like, well, what if I was going to die? Would you still be lost, or would you maybe open up your phone and like look up directions? Like, can you handle little things like that? The other thing is like, passive aggressive communication. There's all these things you have to watch out for, because if you're going to have a child with a woman who's passive aggressive and acts helpless whenever she's in a tough situation, what's going to happen with your kids? What's going to happen with your kids? It's really important that, they can't just be attractive. And I don't agree. Like Myron and I were going to disagree on this concept. I don't want a woman to just be silent. Like I actually like listening to women talk. I do. I very much enjoy it. I like listening to the emotional nature of things, and I like their observations. I really do. But what I don't want, though, is the dangerous part is when your feelings start to supersede objective reality and you start telling me these things. Okay. It's the extreme example is a woman has a dream about you cheating, so wakes up in the morning and punches you. That's like an extreme example of what I'm talking about. Do you understand what I'm saying? Another example is like what Homap said. A guy puts on a raincoat weird out in the winter. She's like, ooh, that's an ick, and then breaks up with him because he looks weird in a raincoat. That's like an extreme example. But there's other examples where it's just like their emotionality trumps reality. And in doing so, you just like ruin the relationship. So those are some things I'm looking for. The other thing is I would recommend men have enough experience with women to where physical attraction doesn't control them. Like there's no way. Kylie and I joke about this. She's like, oh, I would have dated you when you were 21. It's like, no, you wouldn't have. Because when I was 21, I would have fucking slobbered all over myself if I saw Kylie. Right. And I still have the same feelings of anxiety when I saw her now at 45, when now I'm 46. I still have the same feelings of anxiety. But the thing is, because when we talked about maturity, I had the maturity to control my behavior at 45 that I didn't have when I was 21, so that I didn't look like a bumbling idiot when I met her. So I think you as a man have to have enough experience in general with women so that you don't go, you're more attractive. And then once you're in the relationship, one thing I've said this before, women need to ask for commitment. You as men don't need to be offering it up from the beginning. It's a very bad look when you do that. And then when you do so, there needs to be boundaries that are set. And when those boundaries are crossed, there needs to be no question that the relationship ends. There needs to be boundaries where it's like, I'm going to leave the room boundaries. And then there needs to be, you're moving out boundaries, or we're not talking anymore, or I'm blocking you on boundaries. Right. So like a girl fucks your brother. That's where that's blocked, you're out of my life boundary. But it's like we started to an argument at dinner. That's a maybe we need to sit in the other room for a little while boundaries. Does that make sense? And you need, as a man, you have to stick to those boundaries. The moment you don't, it's
Yeah.
very much like just imagine if home ownership of pistols was made completely illegal in certain neighborhoods of Chicago. Just imagine if there was a rich neighborhood in Chicago and a city law came out, and in that city law, everyone knew that no one was allowed to carry firearms or have firearms in their house in that neighborhood because those people in that neighborhood can no longer enforce their boundaries because they don't have the weapons, they don't have the hardware to do it. If you're a man and you don't have the hardware to enforce your boundaries, then a crime wave will then happen in your relationship. And then the inmates will take over the asylum, and that's kind of the situation that will happen. She needs to have boundaries too. Please don't try. I'm not trying to say she doesn't, but like one thing people have a hard time with is that everything is conditional, right? If your girlfriend tries to throw your nephew off a balcony, you need to break up with her. That's a condition, right? You know what I'm saying? And if you beat your wife should leave you. That's a condition. Those are conditions. Everything is conditional. Nothing is unconditional, guys. Nothing. The only thing that's close to unconditional is like, what's his name? Jeffrey Dahmer's mom, like showing up in court, like testifying on her son's behalf. That is unconditional love. Okay. This motherfucker ate 17 people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's unconditional. That the mother's love for a child is unconditional. Everything else is conditional. Everything else is conditional.
Agreed. I think the thing about boundaries, it's so easy to just say to, like, let's just say you just started dating someone and you're like, yeah, if you do this, I'm gonna do that. If you do this, I'm gonna do that. And then like it actually happens, you're just like, all right, well, this time, I'll let it slide. And then right after that, it's just game over. Like she'll never respect you after that.
Yeah.
It depends on what happened as well. Maybe you were too extreme about the boundaries, but usually, yeah, it just goes south from there.
But you have the right. So you have the right to be extreme about the boundaries. Like the whole Jonah Hill thing. Jonah Hill would be controlling if Jonah Hill was controlling her life and telling her to not leave or talk to anyone, and then still wanting to stay with her, and then being verbally abusive and insulting her. That would be controlling. Jonah Hill was complimentary of her, told her what his boundaries were, and said, if you don't want to meet these boundaries, I still support you. Let's just not be in a relationship together. And then he broke up with her. That is totally normal behavior. I will take on any therapist who wants to have a discussion about this. What Jonah Hill did was totally okay. It is totally okay. If you want to say, well, it's not okay because she's a surfer and she was in a bikini, then what I'm going to do is have a dozen Muslim men sit here, and I'm have these Muslim men say, I don't want my daughter or wife dressing in a certain way, and if she did, I wouldn't be in a relationship with her. And then I want you to tell all of these Muslim men that they're all misogynist, and by the way, fundamentalist Christians, man, I want you to tell all these Quakers, I choose for a certain level of modesty in my relationship. And if you don't want that level of modesty, I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to say mean things about you. I'm just not going to marry you. Does that make sense? And by the way, I have no problem with that. And I don't need that level of modesty. I love it when my girlfriend's in a bikini. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me. But some people have a big problem with it. And so you have, as a man, so the thing about it is, this is where, people kind of don't grasp this. Men, we have handshake deals, and then we can just leave the handshake deal. Hey, man, I just want to let you know this deal isn't working for me anymore. And we just break off the deal. That's fine. That's how it works. It's like this concept of like things being unconditional, or, it's one of these things where it's like you always have the ability to leave. If I don't give you the ability to leave, then that's extortion. That's kidnapping. But as long as we have the ability to end the relationship, then it's fine. And what I mean by that is, if I propose a boundary and you don't like it, we can both end the relationship. Then that's fine. The problem comes when I impose a boundary and then I don't let you leave. Right. And then I start extorting you or holding things over you. That's when we get into like criminal behavior, grooming, shit like that. That's a problem. And that's not what Jonah Hill did. That's why I have such a massive problem with him being like skewered by people on the left who don't know anything about what they're talking about. People with unsuccessful relationships, where no one with a successful relationship was criticizing Jonah Hill. I'm gonna say that one more time. Here's your clip. No one who was in a successful relationship was criticizing Jonah Hill's behavior. Only people who have been divorced or selfish or think for themselves and just don't give a fuck, eat, pray, love type of shit, like thinking divorce is some kind of championship. only those type of people who consistently get into unhealthy, toxic relationships were criticizing Jonah Hill. People who have been in healthy relationships know that Jonah Hill was just expressing boundaries and gave her the option to leave if she wanted to. That's the difference. Now we're learning that Will Smith may have also been attracted to men. It's really hard. Like, I don't know, because it's just going to get on this thing. Like, everyone's piling on him. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but like the problem is we're questioning whether or not it's true. So what does that tell you?
Like, I haven't really,
I'm saying,
found an evidence that's like true or not. I'm just
okay. So let's just say he is homosexual, like, or he's bisexual. That would explain a lot of what's going on. Hey, I'm fine with my wife sleeping with other men. That would explain a lot. But let's say he isn't bisexual, but he is so non-masculine that we would consider him to be bisexual. What does that also tell us? That's probably why his wife wouldn't respect him, and then she would go off and sleep with other men. You understand what I'm saying? And just so we're clear, they did not come to that agreement mutually. I don't care what they said on the red round table. She told him she was going to sleep with other dudes. Maybe did or didn't, or found out after the third or fourth one. It absolutely was not his idea. I don't care what anyone tells you. Will Smith did not tell Jada Pinkett Smith to go sleep with other dudes. They can cope and make up any kind of lies they want. It's clearly the situation. But the thing is with the Will Smith situation is it's as bad as it looks. It really is. Like, it's one of these situations where, you know, a person, this is a completely different situation besides relationships. Jada's a narcissist, and she gets her supply from an empathetic person named Will that she can get her supply from. And Will is more famous than her, which, by the way, kind of bothers her a little bit. I think, you know, most women who are attractive are used to getting more attention than their boyfriends, but that's not what's going on here. Will gets way more attention than Jada does, at like 100x more.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's always going to be an issue for someone who's a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? I think that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like Will is a good-looking guy and a musical performer and a talented actor. Jada was a pretty woman who was in a few movies and really didn't her career. You know, she was compared to Halle Berry, but Halle Berry is a phenomenal actress and very physically attractive. Halle Berry is an award-winning actress. Halle Berry is not comparable to or Jada Pinkett is not comparable to Halle Berry. Jada Pinkett is closer to, say, Vivica Fox. Well, Vivica Fox is a more talented actor, to be fair. But that's where the difference is. So go ahead.
I feel like Jada would have done the same thing, even if she was with, for example, Tupac. I feel like that's just like in her nature. And whoever she was,
Tupac would have left her.
With.
No.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Tupac would have left. Tupac would have left her. Tupac would have left her. That's the difference. Yeah. Tupac would have left her. It would have gone fine for a while, but like her instability would have caused a boundary to be breached, and then Tupac would have left her.
Yeah, 100%.
Does that make sense? Tupac would have had a beef with some other rapper, and she would have like been mad at him one day and entertained some DMs between, you know, Jada and Biggie, and then once the DMs come out, Tupac would have left her. That's what would have happened.